Hey there, Colonials. Welcome back to another edition of Quickly Colonial. Today, we are on location in a small, tiny little town in southwestern Pennsylvania. We are just outside of Connoquenessing in a small little area called Harmony. Now, Harmony was started by George Rapp in 1804, the Harmony Society. And it was a group of Germans that were peace-loving, and they just wanted peace and to practice their religion. And so it wasn't here until 1804. But the reason that I bring you to this area is just down the road, a little ways, is Beaver Creek. Now, Beaver Creek eventually filters in to the Ohio River. And the reason this whole story here is significant is because we are on the Washington Trail. And why is that significant? In this area, here's the thing, nobody knows exactly where, but in this area was a small little community that only popped up in the spring and in the fall at the end of trapping seasons, so that both Indians and the English settlers could trade goods with one another. And this little community would pop up later on towards the latter part of the 1700s and then into the early 1800s, during that really the big height and the big part of the fur trade era. They would have what we would call rendezvous, and it's the same concept though, but they would come and they would meet together to trade and to buy supplies and to sell supplies. And it was on such an adventure, and we've talked about our buddy George Washington before, he had a letter from Governor Dinwiddie of Virginia to go take to the French, who were building a fort up north towards Erie, Fort Le Boeuf. And that letter, as we remember, it said, hey, you're on British territory, you need to get out of here. But the French didn't listen. On the way back, Washington and Christopher Gist stopped at this little pop-up town called Murdering Town. And that's just it. Because it popped up in the spring and in the fall, there's only been around 4 or 5 accounts of the actual town, and nobody knows where it really was. There's conflicting accounts back and forth, and there's been arguments back and forth as well, but either way, it was right in this area off of Beaver Creek and the Connoquenessing Creek as it filters into the Ohio River. It was on that such time that he came into Murdering Town. They didn't know exactly where they were at this point. How do we get back onto the main road? And there was the Lenape Indian tribe basically ran this pop-up town. That's the Lenape, the Delaware, the Iroquois, and the Seneca, especially in this area. And they pick up an Indian guide, and he says, hey, I'll take you back to the main road. And so as they made their way 7 miles back to the flats of the Connoquenessing, that was whenever their Indian guide, who was really working with the French, decided to take 20 paces ahead of them and turn around, and he shot his gun and fired at Washington and Gist. Thankfully, he missed. And he was fearful for his life, and he took off through the woods, and they never saw him again. But there you have it, my dear Colonials. Here we are on location in a tiny, tiny little town from 1804, Harmony, Pennsylvania. My dear Colonials, if you like what you see, give me a like and subscribe. If you've been with us before, I say thank you and welcome back. And if this is your first time, welcome and thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.